All right, I think we're good.
Okay.
So, to start off, maybe if you could give us a little bit of information about yourself, a little bit of background, your name, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, my name is Jessica Frost. I'm from the Everett area. I grew up there, lived there my entire life. I have four amazing, beautiful little boys. They still currently live in Everett with my parents. I've struggled with drug and alcohol addiction for like the past 20 years. I started using when I was about 15. Um, I've had a lot of trauma in my life. I don't use that as an excuse to use. I feel like for me, um, drugs and alcohol kind of just took me to a place that was more like a spiritual warfare for me. It was something that I had to overcome, and I believe in my heart that God is the one that pulled me through that. So now I'm here in Saginaw, Michigan, working my recovery. I'm doing great things. I went to prison in 2021, and it was drug related. Um, and while in prison, I just decided, enough was enough. It's time to change my life. I want to do something different. And, seeing a lot of people that were coming in and out of prison doors that were addicted, or having those kind of charges and being put in a place where there really wasn't a whole lot of help. Really wanted me to kind of get my foot in the door and trying to give others the advantage that for re-entry into society and give them, fill that gap, where there isn't help to make help, especially in smaller areas such as Everett. My plan is to stay here for at least 3 years and complete my associate's degree in behavioral health. I want to do my testing and become a drug and alcohol counselor.
Nice.
Um, yeah. I'm doing some fun stuff right now. Right now, I'm a living peer support for Saginaw Odyssey House, which is a recovery center. I get to live in this big, beautiful house, and I get to like kind of like teach and coach women that are coming in and out of the program. Basically help them get their daily necessity needs met. Making meetings, getting to appointments, scheduling appointments, making sure that they're keeping their appointments with their outpatient therapists, stuff like that. So yeah, it's a big change for me, especially going from having absolutely no control over my life to being entrusted with other people's lives. It's
Yeah,
really been a gift.
absolutely. Well, it sounds like you're doing some great stuff, and it's funny that
Yeah,
you touched on prison, and I kind of want to go back to that in a minute because I noticed on your Facebook profile it says something about prison advocate or prison reform.
yeah,
Um, And so I do want to return to that, but it's funny that you brought that up. Many years ago, I worked at a basically it was like a jail for kids type thing.
okay,
And the good thing about that was that one, it was Christian based, and two, while they were there, they weren't there just to serve time. They were also put into programs to hopefully
yeah,
um, one rehabilitate, but two prepare them for what they could expect once they re-entered the real world, so to speak. Um, it's just funny because America has like the largest prison system in the world and probably one of the worst as well.
yes, it
Just
does.
based,
Yeah,
yeah, just based on what I've read, based on statistics, based on encounters I've had with people that have spent time. I just think that it's one big failure, and and you're right. It doesn't really prepare people for what to expect when they get out. But like I said, we'll circle back around to that.
okay,
The first thing I wanted to talk about is a post that's on your Facebook page.
okay,
So in preparation for this discussion that we're having, I kind of went and stalked your Facebook page. Full disclosure, but just so I would have some content, and I've never
yeah,
met. I think I met you once in person,
hmm,
briefly, because I
yeah,
believe you used to work with my wife.
yes, I did. I worked
And
with your wife at McDonald's. Yes.
yes, okay, okay, and I remember my wife and I were walking downtown Everett, and I
Mhm.
think you were pushing a stroller, so one of your children must have been really small at that time.
Yeah.
And I think it was just a brief encounter. My wife had introduced us, and that was it. So I don't really know you per se, other than that brief encounter. And like I said, just what I found on your Facebook profile today. So hopefully, um, if I touch on something that you don't want to talk about, just let me know. Or
Okay.
At any time you want to elaborate on something, let me know, because like I said, I've only got a surface knowledge of who you are.
Okay.
Um, but this post that you, and I wrote it down, this
Okay.
post that you left, I found it to be so interesting and profound. So I wanted to read that for everyone. So here it goes. It says, and this is you speaking, of course. I'm so grateful for everything in my life. So much has changed, and I've accomplished more in the last year than I ever thought I would. So many people thought I'd never make it through, but there comes a time for change, a time for healing and living. I'm forever grateful for my life now and can't wait to help others along the way. If I can do this, anyone can. Um, the first thing I wanted to touch on regarding what you posted there, first of all, I just think that that encapsulates so much. So it's
Thank
I
you.
commend you for that.
Yeah.
It's funny you said so many people thought I'd never make it through. Isn't that isn't that the sad part of all of this? Is that for whatever reason, as a society, we tend to look at people who struggle with any sort of an addiction. It doesn't matter what it is,
Hmm.
or if they have any sort of issue or fault. Isn't it funny that as a society we tend to, one, look down upon, chastise, or give up on people like that?
It
Um,
is.
so,
It is. It really is. And if you don't mind, I'd like to say too, a lot of where that comes from is, I've been in the system a long time, in and out of jails, and then finally into prison and stuff. And I feel like a lot of my heartache came from once I got to prison and I started learning about like the rehabilitation and the reentry programs and stuff, and how limited that was there. I feel like if I was if I would have been able to receive more programming and been able to reach out more to like surrounding facilities or whatever may you want to call them, to get the help that I needed and to really be rehabilitated from the beginning, and not
mhm,
just like, oh, she'll be back, oh, she'll be back, oh, she'll be back. That was kind of the hard part for me, the part that, I think that sometimes in the system they give up so easily on people instead of trying to rehabilitate them and get them the help and needs that they need met. Because, a lot of people with drug addiction suffer from mental illness, and that goes left unsaid. So that was, when I say that, that was the biggest thing for me, as I have felt, and this isn't to say that people, I have to tread lightly because some people might take offense to this or not. Um, it was really hard for me to be able to open up and to get the help that I needed from authority figures and from people in the place of, such as probation departments and parole departments, that are supposed to be part of the rehabilitation services. That basically at the end of the day, that's what our system is all about. Is to really rehabilitate addiction or addicts and offenders. To be successful, and I seen
mhm.
that not happening, and that was really disheartening for me.
Yeah. Now, do you find that you've had friends or family who've also sort of disengaged or gave up on you? You don't have to name names. I'm just saying in general.
I would like to say I would say friends, but now I guess I don't associate a lot of the people that I did hang out with as friends. I do have supportive relationships in my life.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of people kind of had to separate themselves from me in order for some tough love, I guess you would say. But they've always kind of been in the back rooting for me.
Sure.
Now my parents, Gary and Michelle, I tell you what, they're probably the two strongest people I've ever known because they've never left my side, and my mom's always
Hmm.
rooted for me, and she's always told me, you're strong enough, you can make this, be part of the solution, don't be part of the problem,
Yeah.
helping me with my children, that's a really big one. So
Hmm.
yeah, I do have a lot of family support. There was a time when I think that I got so lost within myself and within my addiction and within trying to navigate myself through this world of chaos that I separated myself from my family.
Hmm.
Not so much my immediate family, but my cousins, grandparents, and things like that, because I didn't know how to communicate. I am completely lost any ability to communicate emotionally, physically, or spiritually.
Sure, sure, absolutely. And I think it's great and it's important to have some sort of a support network, just to navigate life in general, but especially if you're struggling with addictions or grief or whatever it may be. So it's funny that you touched on that point and that you said that there were people always there rooting for you, and even if they demonstrated tough love,
Yeah.
um, in the back of your mind, you knew that if you needed them, they were there for you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So the next part, you said, forever grateful for my life now and can't wait to help others along the way. And that's kind of what you're doing right now, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's hard to I smile because I say it with such great compassion, and in order for me to be able to feel that and be able to express it to others and get excited about helping others is such a huge change, because when I was in my addiction, I had lost that somewhere along
Yeah.
the way, and I believe that the only thing that kept me holding on to that was my relationship with Christ throughout those dark days, which is one thing that I did hold on to, because I knew at the end of the day he was going to bring me through it. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, and just to experience, you know what I mean? Like I've gone through it all. I've I've been and seen and done some pretty gnarly things that just don't,
Yeah.
that you don't think that you're going to go through in life, but in order to be able to turn that around and look at somebody and be like, look, okay, I get that you're living in a bando and that you're, getting high on the daily, but listen, I was doing the same thing. And now look at me, I'm clean. I have a purpose. I have, I'm compassionate. I'm caring. I'm all of these things that I thought I had lost, and all you have to do is just just surrender to that addiction, and realize that you have no control over it. And that's where you gain your control back.
Sure. And a couple of points that you touched on. You're in a unique position to
Hmm.
mentor others because you've been there, done that. Um,
Yes,
which I
I
think,
am. And I'm
you know,
very, very, very grateful for it.
yeah, and it's like one of those things where there's always that silver lining. I mean, you
Hmm.
probably wouldn't want to do it all over again the same way, but because you've done it and you've come out stronger, you can draw from that and share that with others. And not everybody else can. I couldn't do that. I had an addiction with alcohol, but that's where it begins and ends for me. I
Yeah.
couldn't go into something if somebody had an addiction with heroin or whatever, cocaine, whatever. I couldn't really relate to that so much. I could relate to the addiction, but not the specifics. Maybe, and I don't know what addictions you had, but it does give you a unique position, to be able to correlate or to relate to that with somebody.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is just sometimes just being there for somebody, and it does come with its risk, because you're opening yourself up to be exposed and to be vulnerable in these situations where you're around people that are actively using and drinking. But at the same time, you know that you're the one that's sitting there and patting them on the shoulder and letting them know, hey, you can do this, and guess what? Tomorrow you don't have to use, and I'll be
Right.
right there with you, and in most instances, that's all somebody needs.
Yeah, I agree. And the other point that you touched on that I think is very important, you said, leaning into Christ, leaning into God, that spiritual aspect. I mean, that's what my channel is centered around, is about, getting people to Christ, getting people saved. Um, and I know that in my situation, getting saved, finally leaning into Christ, is kind of one of the motivating factors that got me out of my addiction. And so I don't know what people do, how people make it through things like that if they don't have that spiritual foundation. And that's for them to figure out. I'm not passing judgment, but I just know that for me personally, had I not had, even to this day, if I didn't have Christ, I just find that my life would be much more chaotic than what it needs to be. Is that something that, well, let me ask you this. You said that you started to lean into Christ. Was that from the very beginning, or is that something you've picked up along the way?
I feel that Christ has always been a part of my life. I was taught at a very young age, as a very young girl, from my great grandmother, Shirley Stout. She always told me, things like, if you're ever sad, just talk to Christ. If you're ever alone, just talk to Christ. If you ever like think I remember one time I was in a really bad psychosis. I had been up drinking for several days, and I was hearing things and seeing things that weren't there, and I just started talking to God,
Yeah.
and that's what brought me through that, and I believe in those moments the most is when you draw near to God, He's going to bring you through it, and He's going to show you a different way, and allow you to see that silver lining and that clearer point of view, to where um, you don't need to add to the chaos of your mind, because I believe we're already at spiritual warfare from the moment that we're born,
Hmm.
and it's something that is with us throughout our entire lives. And I really believe that drugs and alcohol play a big part in that, as far as the evil aspect of it.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure why, but she's always was always with me up until she passed away. And it's just, it always stuck with me to just,
Yeah.
always reach out to God and always pray to God, and He'll pull me through. There have been times when I have walked away from my faith, um, because of I felt because of my own shame and guilt that I was carrying, due to my addiction and things that had happened in my life. Um, and that's when I had to remind myself that, no matter what, He comes first, and I'm not going to be able
Hmm.
to overcome or get through anything unless I have Him by my side. And the thing of it is that He's always there. I might not always be there, but He's always there, and I need to be able to stand there with open arms and accept that at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever I talk to people regarding that, it's always the story of the prodigal son always comes to mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny that you touched on those points. When I speak to people, when I talk to them about getting saved, and I tell them, that salvation, your eternity in heaven is contingent only upon the fact that you trust on what Jesus did, not on
Yeah.
anything that you do. So it's funny that you said, even when you fell away, you knew that He was always still there, and
Yeah.
and that's for any of us. All of us become backslidden at a certain point, but we don't lose our salvation just because we fall away. Because again, it doesn't depend on what we do; it's what Jesus did, and if we trust on what He did, then we're eternally saved. It's funny that you said that because it reminds me of the prodigal son, how he went away so far and did all these horrible
Yeah.
things, but yet his dad was still waiting for him and accepted him with the open arms that you just referred to.
And that's the
It's,
beautiful part of all of it. It really is.
it is, it is. Um, One of the other things that I noticed on your Facebook profile about 4 days ago, you updated your profile picture. The reason why I'm bringing that up is you look happy. Okay.
Thank
And you
you.
look happy right now as we're speaking. And I think
Mhm.
that's an important part. But I think the bigger part of being happy is joy, because
Yes.
happiness is fleeting. It's temporary. It's dependent on my surroundings, my circumstances. Whereas joy, again, I think comes from Christ. If you have joy, then no matter what's going on around you, you still have that. Is that where you're at this point?
That's exactly where I'm at, and I pull a lot of joy from other people. I take off
Hmm.
from like their moments of clarity and their moments of, realization, or, just seeing in their face where they're like, oh wow, I'm really gonna make it through this. And it's just a wonderful thing to be a part of. And not only that, but to see my family happy and healthy, and the fact that I'm able to contribute to that, in so many different ways, where before in my addiction I wasn't able to. I wasn't in the position to, and I had to basically step away for a while. But now that I am, and that brings me a lot of joy, because I believe that that is one of my purposes here on earth, is to, take care of, love, and protect not only my children, but other people.
Sure, sure. Um, in two things. One of your other posts said, when you reject negativity and focus on the Lord, that stuck out to me because, again, I think that when we bring ourselves to humble ourselves before God, I think that we open ourselves up to so many more of His blessings and so much more of His strength that we can tap into. And then the next thing is I noticed that, and I won't say any names because I don't know if you want names out there, but your son is going to Vacation Bible School. So it
Yes,
looks like
yes, my
to me,
6-year-old.
yeah, okay, and that's awesome that he's going there. That's in a way, like I'm assuming then that it's important to you. You have your spirituality, your salvation, your relationship with Christ, and you want to pass that along to your kids.
Yeah, and he's had a lot of questions over the last couple months. So we felt that Vacation Bible School would be one of the best ways to introduce him to some things. I mean, obviously, we've told him stories. We've explained to the best of our ability. But yeah, it really opened his eyes to a lot of things, and it was exciting to watch him grow and to watch him go through that. So now he's finished with Vacation Bible School, and he's actually gonna go back and start doing the junior church thing every Wednesday, and so we're excited for him.
Nice, nice. And I noticed that one of your other sons just recently graduated.
Yes, my oldest son Gabriel. Yes, he just graduated high school,
Wow.
and we're
It
super
is
proud of him. Super proud of him. He's a smart kid. He's got his he did the career center, so he's got his CNA license. He's a licensed phlebotomist.
oh, nice.
So yeah, he's doing really good for himself. I'm super proud of him. I know we've been through it all together, me and that one. So I'm
Sure.
really happy, and I'm really grateful for his dad and his stepmom because they really stepped up, and did a lot of things that I couldn't do for him.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and it's great when you can still maintain those types of relationships with, an ex husband or a former partner, whatever it may be. And even for like a stepmom to be able to step into and there not be that sort
Yeah.
of animosity or whatever. So important. I was fortunate in that for the most part, because my parents are divorced, but my two sets of parents have, for the most part, always been able to get along. And if they did have any differences, they were set aside for the benefit of myself and my sisters. So it's great that you're able to do that as well.
Yeah, it's something that we practice very hard on. It took us a while, but we got it. So.
Sure. Yeah, it comes with time. So let me ask you this, and this is something you don't have to answer, but what do you think it was that brought you to addiction? Like, what was it? Like, for me personally, I was dead set against drugs and alcohol my whole life, all the way through high school, never touched it. Went to college for my first 2 years, wouldn't touch it. And then my junior year in college, I turned 21. And so I thought, okay, I'll just try one drink and see what it's all about. Well, one turned into 10 and 10 turned into a million. And once I got a taste of it, I couldn't let go of it. So for me, it wasn't even that I was peer pressured into it. It wasn't trying to impress anybody. I didn't really have a whole lot of stress in my life. I just thought I would want to try it to experience it. And unfortunately, I had a more addictive personality than I realized. So what was your scenario or your story?
For me, well, at a very young age, I remember going to a bonfire with a friend of mine, and we tried alcohol for the first time, and I remember clearly that, like, for me, I felt like it had no effect. Like, I could drink more,
Mhm.
it didn't taste as bad, and it made me feel like um I could stand out more, you know what I mean? Because I had something nobody else did, like, oh,
Sure.
I can drink this much and still hold myself together. Little did I know
Yeah.
at such a young age, I really wasn't holding myself together at all. So for me, it basically started out being, being in school, hanging out with rough and rowdy crowd, bonfires, drinking at a young age. And then when I was about 15 years old, I had a very traumatic event happen to me, and that's when I turned to drugs.
Sure.
Now for me, they both came hand in hand. One didn't come without the other. And it never crossed my
Sure.
mind that it was a problem for me until I started getting in trouble about my early 20s. And, and then I could kind of see, okay, yeah, like maybe this is a problem, but I had already gained that rebel mentality, that,
Mhm.
basically that I felt like I had to hold myself up to this person that I created for myself to be to others.
Right.
And on the inside, really what I was doing was I was just suppressing a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, a lot of shame and guilt. Um, I during those times I felt like maybe like I was kind of living double lives. I was drinking and partying and selling drugs, but then on the other side I'm going to therapy and counseling, for
Yeah.
trauma and all of these things. But so I think I was just trying to hold on to both worlds, and then it all came crashing down on me at once.
Sure.
Um, and I definitely like now when I look back at it too, like the whole identifying as a rebel thing, like I think that was something that was just a title that was gained along the way from like other people's perspectives of me.
Hmm.
And so when you lose a sense of self, you kind of try to identify by what other people are saying about you.
Sure.
And I think
Yeah.
that it took me a long time to understand that that's what I was doing. So now that I'm able to not do that and I can just be myself sober, I think that that has made a great difference for me.
Sure. Absolutely. So, what do you think gave you that determination to finally beat addiction? And I know at least for me, it's always an ongoing thing. It's not that it's gone. I'm just able to suppress that a lot easier. So, but what do you think it is? What was the motivating factor? Where was that final straw where you're like, okay, this is it. I've got to make the change.
I think it was for me, it was waking up and realizing that I'm still here. And obviously I believe in God, and I believe, and I believe in my salvation, and I was like, I believe in these things, but am I really doing what I believe? Am I really
Right.
living, through Christ, and then I'm like, and I'd sit there and I'm like, I would quote Proverbs, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I think the only thing that was missing for me was that self love, and
Yeah.
I really had to like literally like get in the mirror every day and tell myself like I love you,
Right.
because if Jesus can love me like that, then I can love myself like that, and then I can do anything,
Hmm.
and I didn't like who I was. I didn't like the person that other people thought that I was. Um,
Right.
I didn't like that I couldn't help other people with the position that I was in. So it was just time for a change. It was time to start loving myself, and it was time to start putting myself first and my relationship with Christ first.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the best answer you can give.
Yeah.
Is what you just said. So how would you describe recovery? I mean, when people say the word recovery, or when you think of your own, how would you describe recovery?
How would I describe recovery? Well, I think that it's recovery isn't just based on addiction or alcoholism. It could be anything in life. And um I think that sometimes people get left out the loop on that aspect. That there's a lot of hurt people out there in the world, and a lot of people that need help. There's a lot of people that have criminal backgrounds that haven't used or drink, but want to change. So for me, recovery is about changing your life. It's about
Hmm.
life recovery. Um,
Yeah.
I I honestly, my pathway has taken me for recovery in drugs and alcohol. That's where my passion is. That's where I want to help the most. And then also
Yep.
work on the side by doing some activist stuff through the prisons, to help what I can do there. But yeah, in my heart, I believe that recovery is something that is based on life events. It's life recovery. It's not just subject to one aspect.
Exactly. And I guess kind of what we were saying before too, it's a mindset and definitely like a
Yeah.
spiritual reset sometimes. Um, so what things are you doing to avoid any sort of a relapse or, some people say falling off the wagon or whatever it may be? What kind of things do you do? I mean, because again, it's more than just avoiding situations or avoiding certain people, because sometimes that's necessary too. It's a change of mind and maybe change of priorities. So what is it that you're doing so that you don't fall back into that?
For me right now, where I'm at in my recovery is I'm learning how to build meaningful relationships with other people that are in recovery, or simply just with other people. Something that we struggle with is once we learn a sense of self and who we are, is sharing that with other people. Um, because I can work with people all day long, and I can be your peer, I can support you, I can do these things. But at the end of the day, when I go home, I need to have relationships in my life that are meaningful.
Mhm.
Such as with my parents, my children, and other people in my life. So gaining meaningful relationships is something I'm working on. What's really important for me, is routine. And that could be a long time to figure out. But for me, it's all about routine, and it's about
Mhm.
setting up the support systems that I need and that I know that I need, and reaching out to people I need. It's really hard for some people to be honest, but like if I need, if I'm awake at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm feeling, anxiety, now I have people that I can call at that time that are going to
Yep.
help me through that. And so that's really important. So just reaching out, working on meaningful relationships, and routine. Definitely routine.
Yeah. Yeah. I think routine is important, and I think I know for me too. Like there's that thing about idle hands. Like if I need a routine and I need to stay busy. It doesn't mean that I never rest, but
Yeah.
I do find that if I'm staying busy, then my mind doesn't wander so much toward alcohol or whatever it may be. Is that kind of like what you're saying too?
Kinda, and when I say routine too, it's not just a daily routine. Obviously it's going to be constantly growing and changing. The whole
Hmm.
thing about it is to just continuously reaching out for growth. Like going to
Yeah.
college, to
Yep.
better my education. Looking at I'm going to start. Just reached out to a few people in the Ever area to see about what kind of peer supports we can move to that area to get, you know what I mean? It's things like that that
Yeah.
keep me going and that are going to further my recovery. And then, the more people that I help, the more I help myself.
Sure. And I noticed on your Facebook page as well, it was May 19th. You put 8 months clean, so now it's almost June 19th. So you're close to 9 months.
Yep.
Um, that's awesome. That's
Thank you.
congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Um, so let me see what else I have written down here. Um, I took notes, and as meticulous as I can be at sometimes, the bad part about it is my handwriting is so bad sometimes I can't read what I've written. So give me a second here while I find where my next one is. Oh, here we go. Oh, I wanted to ask you about Peer 360. I saw that on your page. What exactly is that? Peer 360.
Okay. Peer 360 Alliance is a recovery network, and they work with everybody from gambling, drugs, alcohol, um, any kind of addiction that you have. And what we do is they help you get from appointments if you need to meetings if you need to. They
Hmm.
come together and they create sober community events such as game nights. They do beach nights. They even go camping for the weekend.
Oh, nice.
And they've been working really hard about moving upward up north, and it's just a great group of people that work together, to kind of help people. And then if you need help getting into treatment, they'll help you. So it's a really great program.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. And I'm going to circle back around. We talked about this before. This is what's next on my notes. The prison activist.
Hmm.
Um, we've talked about that earlier, but I said we'd circle back to it. A lot of times I find, even with the kids that I worked with, but especially in the adult system, we're so inclined. I think we have this mentality, this tough on crime mantra,
Mhm.
that we
I
forget that
agree.
there's a human being behind all of that, and that there are
Exactly.
circumstances and situations behind it. Now, I'm not condoning, illegal behavior or anything like that. Although I do think that some things that are illegal should not be illegal, and I won't go there too much on this channel, or they'll take it down. But my point to that is, we're so inclined to punish somebody. We don't look at the real issue. And throwing somebody into prison, I know people that have gone to prison for marijuana before it got legalized and whatever else.
Yes.
And my question always was, what did you solve? First of all, was there even a problem? My answer would be no. But even if there is a problem or you see one, what are you solving by throwing somebody in prison for a year, 2 years, or whatever else? And maybe going through the motions as far as some sort of a program that you put them through. But maybe you don't even get that. But what have you solved by throwing somebody in prison? What harm were they doing? They didn't hurt anyone, maybe themselves, if you want to get technical. But what are you solving with that? So what is your you said on your page, your prison activist? What is it that you're looking at there?
What I'm looking at there is being able to be a person that people can come in contact with. So like if you need I mean, say if you need legal advice, I can get you in contact with another advocate that's able to do that.
Hmm.
Now, let me start by saying when I went to prison, it was right after COVID had hit and it wiped out all of the programming. So they used to have like inpatient rehab services and everything like that. It's all
Yeah.
gone. Everything's gone. And for some reason, they're saying that they don't have enough funding to get those programs reinstated, let alone programs such as what they call vocational village, which is where they can go and learn a trade so that when they do
Hmm.
get released and they are re-entered into society, then they have a trade or something that they can go and they can get a job with. Now, all of those are
Sure.
being eliminated and they're not coming back because there's no funding for it. And our level one entry program, our prison program is overpopulated by almost like 2,000 women for drug and alcohol crimes.
Yeah.
And I understand it, like in my situation, I kept getting in trouble, kept getting in trouble, kept getting in trouble. So they finally sent me to prison. But I think that the problem comes where the reentry is, because they can get so much help inside of prison, but then when it's time to get released, we're kind of just like thrown out to the dogs. So being able to advocate for women that are inside of the prison walls or that have been, wrongfully imprisoned or who have no family or who need legal services or who need help with funding and things like that. Such as there's a lot of women that would be able to go to college while in prison, but the issue with it is that they have to do the footwork themselves. In order to get that done, you
Yeah.
have to have somebody on the outside that's able to help you, to
Yeah.
get everything set up in order for you to go. So, there's a lot of them that are missing out on programs in there because they don't have anybody back at home that can help them. So a lot of that
Yeah.
is where that comes in. And then also reaching out to other activists and political parties.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to explain it all because I'm just learning myself.
Sure.
But and what kind of funding that they're going to bring in order for those reentry programs to come back up, because right now there are none. You know,
Yeah.
and like one of my biggest problems that I had was housing. I
Yeah.
mean, because it takes a minute to get back on your feet, and they've closed down a lot of the housing and stuff like that. And in some counties there is funding for it, but it's not being utilized, which is one of the
Right.
one things that I want to do in Osceola County myself is to kind of tap into that and see what we can do with that.
Yeah. That's definitely a huge problem.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you're releasing people, and even if they're prepared, which a lot of them are unprepared, but even if they are prepared,
Mhm.
that doesn't necessarily mean that they have the resources that they need waiting for them I mean, basic needs like housing, clothing, food, etc. It just bewilders me, like you said, that they've cut all the funding, or they cut the programming, supposedly due to a lack of funding. I just wonder if maybe, if even if they were to divert some of those dollars, I think that somehow they would be able to find that funding. I think if they wanted to, is what I'm getting at, they could do it.
Yeah, I believe that it's there. It's just that getting them to get to it and to do what is necessary in order to get, needs met.
Yeah,
Is what is going on. So, it's something, I
yeah,
believe it's a work in progress, but the more people that step up and speak out, the quicker that things will get done.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, I noticed also on your Facebook page that you'd put something about you had an interview of some sort. Is
Oh
that, does
yeah,
that
yeah.
pertain?
Well, right now I got a lot of stuff going on really. I'm the live-in peer support here at Saginaw Odyssey Residential, or
Mhm.
outpatient residential. And then I just got told right before the interview began, I just got told that I'm going to be working at the inpatient rehab. So I guess I'm going to be working there part-time underneath the TA. So
Okay.
basically internship to do my life recovery coach certification. And I'll be getting paid to work at residential treatment. So that's a blessing. And then I had an interview at a hotel and got hired there as well. So working part-time until I go to school. So
Wow. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, congratulations, first of all. But
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. It seems like a lot, but I have a pretty balanced schedule, and I'm excited about it. I'm really
yeah,
excited about the news that working at inpatient. It's really something that I've been working hard towards.
yeah,
So that was exciting news to hear today.
yeah. And like you touched on, you're now, you said something about you're a new student now at Delta, right? Delta
Yeah.
University.
Yep.
So you're doing that as well. And maybe you already touched on it. What was it again that you wanted to do, through
My
Delta?
general studies are for behavioral health right now. I'm going to be getting my associate's degree in social work, so I can become an addictions counselor.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Perfect. So it just kind of building upon what you're doing already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Let me ask you this. What advice would you give to other people that are struggling with addiction?
Just don't give up. Don't give up, and reach out. That's all
Yeah,
you can do is just don't give up and reach out. And if all else fails, put your hands together and pray like hell.
it's about it too. It's about
Yeah.
it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's so important to not give up. I know it sounds cliche and it seems easy. I mean, the words roll off your tongue pretty easily, but not giving up can be really hard. That I think is where that support network comes in handy. But also, if you have that spiritual aspect. But yeah, just not giving up, as easy as it sounds, or as easy as it rolls off the tongue, it's not always easy to put into practice. But I think that so long as a person is always willing to stand back up after they fall, I think that progress is made each time. Do you agree
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah, I believe in that wholeheartedly. If I wouldn't have went through all the things that I have, and I wouldn't have had the learning experiences that I'd have, I wouldn't have the knowledge or the ability to help others or myself the way that I do now.
Absolutely. Now, I noticed too that you have a TikTok channel, and you're looking to increase your viewership there. So you can do what, do they have a live TikTok live or something, kind of like
Yeah,
Facebook Live?
yeah, yeah. I just got approved to go live, which is what I've been working
Oh,
on. I'm
okay.
not so much into the video thing, but I definitely want to do lives where I can just sit back and talk with people and relate. So yeah, I have TikTok on there. I believe my TikTok name is Ladybug.
Yep, I
So
wrote that down. Ladybug. I don't know if they. I don't have TikTok, but is there a link like
I
that
think
somebody could follow?
I think yes, there is. I'd have to send it to you though. I don't
I was
have
gonna
it.
say, yeah. No, I was gonna
Okay.
say, if there's a link, send it to me through Messenger, and then I'll put it in the comments section of this video so that people can find that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem. I think, I haven't done very many videos like this for my channel. Mine typically is focused on Bible studies. But I have branched out recently, doing more stuff like this. And if I can direct any traffic to you, then I'm hoping, because I'm sure that some of the people that watch my channel, some of them, such as myself, probably have struggled with addiction or grief or anything else, I'm sure.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
and like I said, I can cover some of that to an extent, but it's nice if I can direct some people to someone that, like you, that has a little more extensive experience, and you're going to school for it. You're much better versed in all of this than I am.
Thank you.
So
That's such
I,
a
I
blessing.
yeah, it is a blessing, and I'm hoping that and I'm encouraging my viewers to definitely check out your TikTok. I have just a couple more questions for you because I know you're busy. Um, so let me see here. Oh, this is an easy one, maybe. So, what does the future hold for Jessica? What is the future? What are you looking at?
Um, the future, definitely success. Success and happiness is definitely what the future is for me. And I don't think there's any other words that could, wrap it up, to say how excited I am for that, because I believe with my whole heart that that is exactly what it will be. It's definitely success and happiness.
Absolutely. And my last question for you, and we kind of touched on it, but we can reiterate: how does faith help you? How does your faith, your trust in Christ, how does that help you through all of this and going forward?
My faith in Christ is one thing that has always stood by me. If I can wake up another day and still be here, then um I can wake up another day and live my life for him. Everything that I do, um each step that I take is, my walk with Christ, and that is a relationship that will be with me until, eternity. So that's something that I'm very blessed to have. It's something
Hmm.
that I believe, um I hope that people can witness through me, as I continue my journey and as I continue to grow, um, in my relationship with Christ and what I'm doing with myself and with my life. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, it sounds good. I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds like to me, and like I said, I only have a surface knowledge of who you are, but just from this conversation, it sounds to me like you have your priorities in line, and you're definitely working very hard to to do something better for yourself and for the people around you. And I think that that's not only just commendable, but it's an encouragement to other people. So I just
Thank
want to
you.
thank you
You're
for
welcome.
coming on here
You're
and talking
welcome.
with me. Yeah, and I wish you all the best. And
Sure.
yeah, no problem. And if there's anything that we can do for you, let us know. That's what we're
Welcome.
here for too. But definitely excited for what you have and what you're doing. It just sounds like you're doing great things. So
Thank you so
God bless
much.
you. Oh
God
yeah.
bless you too.
So I will get this posted. It'll
Okay.
probably premiere this Sunday. Actually, I'm going to try to have it up so that it premieres Sunday at 3 o'clock. That's when my videos premiere. I'll put your TikTok link if you send that to me. I'll put that in the
Okay.
comment section. And yeah, I think we'll be all set.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and you have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.